Thank you very much for the invitation. This is my first visit in the EMF and the European Internet Forum. So maybe briefly, who is Eurosmart? So Eurosmart is an industry association based in Brussels for the last 20 years. Eurosmart members are global technology providers with a strong expertise in management of digital security within the digital environment. All its members have strong European roots, but now they are global players. And we are really proud to participate to the debate around the single digital market, which is a key activity for our industry. So maybe as an example, Eurosmart members, I think you don't know them because it's inside but it's hidden. But if you have an Apple 5 or 6 or Samsung S4, S5 or S6, you have at least 2 Eurosmart products in your pockets. And if you are holding a US passport or any European US passport, you have again another Eurosmart product. And if you have 1 or 2 credit cards, you have again Eurosmart products. And if you have healthcare or transportation from Brussels, if you buy it from Brussels, again, Eurosmart product. So Eurosmart is everywhere in your life, but you don't know it. So today I would like to emphasize on the standardization. So standards, as mentioned today, is vital for the European industry. And we can be proud about what we already achieved. Because if we look on the 3 categories of standards, I will say that the standards coming from the ESO, European Standardization Organization, the standards coming from the industry, with the industry standard through some industry association, or the standards coming from the regulation, because with the second legislation, we are also creating standards by law, which are inspired by standards, but are defining its own way. So I will take 3 examples. The first one is GSM, that you know all in the room, which means initially Groupe Spécial Mobile. So then for marketing purposes, we call it mobile, global system for mobile communication, but it's born in south of France, so that's why it's close to my heart. And we had the 2G, the 3G and the 4G with our other region collaborating with the first initiative, and we strongly hope that the 5G will be again a European success and a worldwide deployment. Then the second example is coming from industry standards, what we call the chip and pin, that you know maybe, which is based on what we call EMV standard, European MasterCard and Visa, which is born in Europe and mainly in Brussels. The standards, and has been deployed first in France 30 years ago, and then all across Europe with the liability shift, and then mostly to Asia, Latin America, Africa, and quite recently even in the US. So 30 years after the beginning of the standards, US are fully migrating their base of credit cards, which is representing almost 1 billion cards, to EMB standards born in Europe. Then the last example would be the standards by law. So if we take the example of the tachograph, so tachograph is replacing the old paper plate for the truck driver, you know, to check the times that they are driving. And basically, European DG Move has created a regulation to make a regulation out of it and to make it dematerialized and based on digital system. And today, I don't propose to read the Annex B of the regulation because it's 120 pages of APDUs and 0 and 1, so it's a nightmare. But by law, we created a standard fully interoperable within a digital environment and not covering only 28 member states, but 52. Why? Because all trucks traveling on the highway in Europe must be compliant with the European regulation. So we have already 52 countries completely interoperable for law enforcement purposes. The second example on standard by law, it's the electronic passport, which has been first mandated by law by the US with the electronic passport. And then for the biometric passport, the DG Home has created what we call, sorry about the name, EAC, for Extended Access Control Standard, for protecting the second biometry within the European passport. And this standard is again born in Europe, so between Netherlands, France, UK and Germany. And it's deployed in several regions of the world. So for instance, all the GCC countries in Middle East are using this EAC protocol, South Korea, Algeria, Morocco, several African countries, and also Latin America. So the next wave of standard by law will be the EDAS regulation that has been led by the DG Connect, where industry has been working on the ISO to define what we call the LOA standards for level of authentication that has been shared in a collaborative way between the US, Europe, and different actors. And for specific purposes, EDAS regulation is defining now 3 levels. So we have created a new standards by law that will be helping the digital economy to grow, but in a different way than the one that was previously existing. So the third example would be on the industry standard. So I would like to mention FIDO. Maybe for the French people it's not food for dogs, because this is a brand, a famous brand in France. It's for fast identity online. And the FIDO Alliance is a US-based association, so it's an industry association composed by all the big players from the web, first PayPal and then Google, and then all the banking industry joined with Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America. And again, this protocol is how to make authentication and trust on the internet for commercial device, because we need a worldwide solution to manage the authentication. And again, this standard is born in Germany, Dutch Qualitat, Rolf Lindman. So that's why we have to be proud about our engineer, about our technology, and the way that we are making standards which are deployed worldwide. So the second point is not an example, it's just to say that standard is nothing related to technical issue. Not at all. It's a pure business issue. And the one who understood that are participating to this standardization group in a collaborative way. I think this is important to mention, because to make people work together is taking time. And I had the same sentence that Swiss in my speech, but I will remove it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in the digital world, it's really important, because the internet infrastructure has not been created from one day to another one. We are on the project which started almost 30 years ago. So we are just at the visible part of the impact on the economy, but it is a long trend, a mega trend. So what is important also is that the traditional way, like we are doing in Europe with the ESO, is quite beneficial for the SMEs, because we have connected what we call the national standardization body with the European standardization body, and the regional clusters are quite well connected to the national standardization body. And that's really important to keep this level of hierarchy, because the cluster is mainly composed by SMEs, and they are looking for their big, their brothers, large brothers, to help them to connect with the national standardization body. So I think this is really important for a small industry to create the future economy, the sharing economy, but also to keep this relationship. So I'm a little bit lost, sorry. Okay, and then also a key message is that it's not neutral. Standards are not neutral, and we are touching a point of the triangle mentioned by Luis, is that when we are talking about legislative vehicle, we need to guarantee the technology neutrality. So the objective on this is not to put in conflict the standard from the ESO approach and the industry approach, but really it's to leverage both, and to make it successful. Because if we look today on the internet, W3C or the FIDO Alliance are really successful, and we need them to create this infrastructure, but we also need the European standards to prepare the future. So I think I'm running out of time, so as a conclusion I would like to strongly highlight one point. is that mainly to the member of the parliaments, because standards are seen as a technical issue. It's not. And I would like to raise one advice: is really to pay attention when we are dealing with a text, directive or regulation, to link to the DSM strategy, is to make sure that in the recital the European and international standards body are named, because this is the key assets to prepare the second legislation. And without these first assets, when we are on the second legislation, it's much more complicated to reference European standards within the second legislation. So thank you very much. I hope that I was not too long, and I wish you a bon appetit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I think that